Project Veritas allegedly caught the FDA's executive officer on hidden camera revealing the Biden administration's COVID policy. Let's watch that.
Biden wants to inoculate as many people as possible. So you have to get an annual shot. I mean, it hasn't been formally announced yet, so you don't want to rile everyone up. The drug companies, the food companies, the vaccine companies, they pay us hundreds of millions of dollars a year to hire and keep the reviewers to approve their products. If they can get every person required at an annual vaccine, that is a recurring return of money going into their company.
Well, what'd you think? I don't know. It's not the most damning kind of statements I don't think I've ever seen. He didn't seem to be saying anything that they're not saying publicly, right?
Right. One thing people might not know is the point that he makes about how pharmaceutical companies fund the FDA. That might sound like a crazy conspiracy theory. 100% true. Like that's largely how the FDA is funded, by big pharma. And critics have warned for years that this creates a conflict of interest because your funding as an agency depends on these companies doing well. His point about the toddler 6 months to 5 years old is interesting. So what he's saying is what a lot of people have said, which is that the tests out there have not yet shown enough kind of robust marginal upside.
Right.
Exactly. And that's because COVID is so harmless is not the word, but is so mild in kids 6 months to 5 years old that in order to show a benefit, you'd have to take that mildness, down.
Right.
And there's not far to go.
Right.
Because if a kid only has some sniffles, and now you have just tiny fewer amount of sniffles, then if there are any side effects at all, then the side effects outweigh the benefits, and that's what he's saying.
For this age category, it's not hard for the side effects of the vaccine to be worse, or that even if it's a very small number of myocarditis cases or whatever, it still might be worse than than COVID because we don't see a lot of now.
We also don't know long-term.
We don't know long-term effects,
either.
and I would like to see it approved anyway because I think it should just be up to families to decide. And you might have immunocompromised, rare cases of disease in children or severely obese children. You're probably not going to see that in toddlers, but older.
Right. Their doctor should be able to look at the studies and make that decision.
Right. You might have a couple cases where, a doctor would say, actually, you know what, for this child, the upside of the vaccine is actually significant because of whatever health issue you have. So that should be on the table. But
the points he makes about mandates and annual shots are interesting because he's in that world, and so what he can do is relay what that world is thinking about when it comes to implementing future annual mandates or mandates for schools. But that's just their guess.
Right.
Like they're not. It's not ultimately up to them. But it is.
The FDA doesn't decide what schools mandate. Like schools decide that.
But it is. To be fair to the people who are going to who are going to watch this and panicked, it's fair to say that there is a collection of people, in that world who would like those policies implemented. So that's useful to know. That's useful for the public to know because you're going to have a lot of people who are like, good, we want those. Like there are tons of liberals who are like, look, there should be mandates in school. We mandate smallpox, measles, mumps. Why don't we mandate this as well? And people say, well, we don't mandate a flu shot.
My thinking is that based on how this has gone, so many people in positions of authority default to, well, what does the CDC say? So if the CDC says there should be, children as young as toddlers there should be a mandate for them to take this, then team blue controlled authorities will try to do that. That's my.
I think that's true to an extent, but I think the CDC's kind of brand is waning among even those people as they continue to try to drag their feet on masks in schools, for instance. And they took a huge hit, actually, in the reverse direction when they moved from 10 days of quarantine to 5. All the people who wanted 10 said, wait a minute, you just did this because of public pressure. And they're like, yeah, we're public health officials, and so we have to calibrate the effectiveness of our mandates and our guidelines are linked to how much credibility we have with the public. And so therefore, yes, we do take public pressure into account. And for the CDC to admit to that after saying for a year and a half, follow science, follow science, follow science, caused them to lose a lot of respect among the people that you're talking about because they wanted to go bigger. And that might actually be related to their resistance at this moment, their reluctance to do anything on masks yet.
Well, I just know so yesterday in my radar I talked about how DC is going to get rid of its mandates, its vaccine mandate gone as of today or as of yesterday.
You mean for restaurants and?
Yeah, right, to enter restaurants. One of the members of the city council, so this was just done by Mayor Muriel Bowser, one of the members of the city council was like, this is insane. People will die. People will not feel safe to leave their homes anymore. I'm introducing an emergency order to get the mandate reinstated because, we're all going to die if not. So
we'll see how that goes.
I don't know.
At least it's a legislative democratic process.
Right. This is why at the end of the day I always remember that I don't actually prefer democracy very, very much.
Libertarians are not winning at that situation.
The elites are bad and the people are bad. That's my life philosophy. Yes, our decadent, amoral, profit-driven, depraved elites, we should not be governed by them. But also our depraved, idiotic hordes of random persons, my fellow citizens, love you to death, don't want to be governed by you.
Wouldn't that suggest, though, we need some type of system to channel that badness?
Anarchy. Glorious anarchy.
Everybody's bad. We need anarchy.
We all keep each other in check. Anarchy.
Lots of checks and balances.
Lots of checks and
Everybody's checking and balancing. Excellent. All right. Well, we'll have more Rising right after this.